welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we are going to be talking healthy food shopping on a budget. I'm going to be sharing 10 very healthy foods with you guys that are all fairly cheap to buy. If you guys are new around here, my name is Becca. I am a registered dietitian and I love to make videos on nutrition and healthy eating, intuitive eating, and just really a natural lifestyle in general. So if you are new, I would absolutely love for you to subscribe. So like I said, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about healthy eating on a budget, and I'm going to be sharing some budget-friendly healthy foods with you guys. I feel like grocery shopping just continues to just get more expensive, and there is definitely Hadley agrees. There's definitely a perception that eating healthy is automatically very expensive. And here's the thing, you can spend a fortune on really healthy food, but you can also not. There are definitely ways that you can cut corners as far as pricing, but still get quality, nutritious, wholesome food. A couple rules of thumb to kind of live by when it comes to eating healthy in a way that is budget friendly. One, you want to be purchasing food in its most basic form whenever possible. So a really simple way, to explain this is you can walk into a grocery store and you can get a carton of, let's say, strawberries. Or you can walk over to the refrigerated section in the produce aisle section and you can buy, a cup of berries that is already washed and cut up. You're going to be paying a premium for the berries that are already washed and cut and ready to eat versus just buying them in their most pure, simple form of just regular strawberries. You're going to be paying more basically for the convenience. So this is just a really good thing to keep in mind when you're buying food. The more prepared it is, typically the more expensive it's going to be. Also, another rule of thumb to keep in mind is shopping the perimeter of the store, because that is typically where all of the most whole foods are. Now this is not like a perfect rule. There are definitely exceptions to that rule that you will even see in this video, but just something to keep in mind. Typically the more processed or prepared type foods that you're going to be paying more for really most likely less nutritional value are going to be more so in the aisles of the store. Okay, my first healthy food that you can buy on a budget are eggs. I love eggs. They are very nutrient dense. And you can use them in a ton of different ways, not just for breakfast. You can use them in all kinds of meals. You can make snacks with eggs. You can use them for so many different things, and they do contain a lot of nutrients, which I'll get to. But my number one tip here is just do the best you can and buy the best eggs that your budget will allow. And what I mean by best is really how the chickens are raised, because they are very different. So when you are shopping for eggs, the way that the chickens that lay those eggs are housed and how they live is going to determine the price of those eggs and also the nutritional value. So for example, 90% of the eggs available on the market in the US come from caged chickens, which means they have no more than 67 square inches per chicken. They literally live in a cage. They never see the light of day, and they are fully, completely sustained on a diet of chicken feed, which is made up of corn and soy products. So not only is that really sad to think about, and I did not know over 90% of the eggs available come from chickens in this manner. That actually makes me really sad as someone who has chickens in her backyard. I definitely try and get eggs that come from, well now I get them from my own chickens, but you want to try and get them from chickens that don't necessarily come from that environment. There are also cage-free eggs, there are free-range eggs, and then pasture-raised eggs. Cage-free eggs, these chickens are still fully confined to the indoors. They probably never see the light of day, and they have about 1 square foot of room each. So they're not in a cage, but they're still very much in confinement, and again, they are fully fed like a corn and soy type chicken feed. Next up is free range, and this means that the chickens typically have still less than 2 square feet per chicken, and they probably spend most of their life indoors. They might see a little bit of outdoor time, but they're probably, again, going to be mostly confined to indoor spaces like a barn, and they are going to be mostly sustained on chicken feed from like some kind of corn soy blend. And then lastly, pasture-raised eggs come from chickens that have at least 108 square foot per chicken, so this is a massive difference from the others, and they spend majority of their day outside, so typically they are let out in the morning and then they are put back into their coop at night. The reason that pasture-raised eggs are so different than the other options are obviously those chickens are probably leading much happier lives. That's exactly what my chickens do. They have a ball out there every single day. They love their life. But also when they're out there, they are eating grass. They are finding bugs and worms. They basically have a much more varied diet. We do give our chickens feed. We give them food that they pick on, but most of the time they're out there like running around, scratching and eating all kinds of things that they're finding. So they have the most varied diet than you could possibly have. So basically, these chickens, since they have a much more varied diet, they themselves are eating much more nutrients and a much more broad range of different nutrients. So that is going to be reflected in their eggs. The more nutrition that they're receiving through not just feed, but also being out and about and eating other things from nature, that is going to change how nutritious their eggs are. So you're not just paying for chickens to have happier lives, you're also paying for healthier eggs. Pay a premium, so to speak, with the pasture-raised eggs. Like I said, try and do the best that you can and purchase the best that your budget will allow, but that's just kind of a breakdown because I feel like there's a lot of confusion and there's definitely a lot of use of these more so marketing terms than anything else that can kind of trick people into thinking they're getting something really high quality when maybe they're not. So now you understand the difference. Okay, my second healthy food is actually two, but they kind of go together, and those are beans and lentils. So beans and lentils are very fiber rich. They're also rich in magnesium and potassium and folate and iron. They also pack a decent amount of protein, and lastly, they are rich in polyphenols, which are basically compounds that have antioxidant activity. I have an entire video here on my channel about antioxidants. I will link for you. But antioxidants fight off oxidative stress in the body, which is super important for our health. Especially if you're buying beans in particular dried, you can cook them on the stovetop. If you have an Instant Pot, you can easily cook them in there. That brings the price down even further. You can get dried beans and lentils so cheap. And they're such a great way to pack a lot of protein and nutrition, and also just really bulk up meals for not a lot of money, and you get a lot of nutrition payoff. My third food is potatoes. So this is another really great whole, simple food that is very filling and can add a lot of bulk to meals without costing a lot of money. So in particular, potatoes are also very fiber rich. They are also very rich in vitamin C, B6, potassium, and folate. So you can get a regular potato, like a russet potato, or my personal favorite are sweet potatoes, which pack a lot of the same nutrients, but also in addition are very rich in beta carotene, which is basically a precursor to vitamin A. So it essentially provides our body with vitamin A, and that is what actually gives sweet potato their rich orange color. I have an entire video on vitamin A as well that I can link for you guys. Okay, my fourth food is purchasing a whole chicken. So chicken is such a great source of protein. It's also super versatile. You can use it in so many different things. So purchasing a whole chicken in particular is typically the cheapest way to buy it. If you're buying individual cuts like chicken tenderloins or something like that, it is going to be more expensive because again, it has to be, it's somewhat prepared. Someone is cutting it down. So you're paying for the convenience for that already being done for you. So it may be intimidating to cook a whole chicken, and this is something that I'm trying to get more in the habit of because I definitely buy like cuts of chicken all the time. But it really is so easy, especially if you have like a crock pot or an Instant Pot. You can cook like maybe one chicken a week, you can cut it all up, and then you have chicken to eat all throughout the week that you can use in a lot of different ways. And also one huge benefit that you get even more bang for your buck is basically for free from the carcass and the bones of that chicken, you can actually make your own bone broth, which is super rich in collagen and lots of different vitamins and minerals because it's just leached all from the bones of that chicken. And it's essentially free for you to make that. Again, it's super easy to make in a crock pot or an Instant Pot. You can also do it on the stovetop. And then you can save that to use in other meals. So instead of buying chicken stock at the store, you can make it yourself. And it's going to be so much more nutrient packed than the stuff that you would buy on the shelf in the store. Okay, my fifth healthy food is frozen fruits and vegetables. I am so not against getting some frozen fruits and veggies, you guys. It is a much cheaper way to buy fresh fruits and, well, not fresh, but fruits and vegetables. And really, when you look at like studies comparing fresh versus frozen, there's no like real significant difference in the nutrient value when you're comparing fresh and frozen. So that is a great way for you to get vegetables in your, into your cooking, into your household without paying the exact, higher price that you're gonna get when you buy them fresh. When it comes to frozen fruit, I mean, obviously you can use them in smoothies, but I mean, you can defrost frozen fruit and there's a lot of different ways that you can use it. You just have to get a little creative. The texture is going to be a little bit different than when you bought it fresh, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And if you really want to make sure that you're getting some great, especially like berries that are so rich in nutrients and especially fiber, great thing to have as a staple in your diet. That is a much cheaper way to get them, especially if you can buy them in bulk. And when it comes to frozen vegetables, it's the same thing. There's a lot of different ways that you can use them. You can get pretty much any vegetable frozen and it is going to cost less money. The only thing I will caution you against is when you're looking in the aisles, there's a lot of the time there's frozen veggies that have already some kind of pre-mixed sauce or maybe a marinade or something like that. I would just stick to buying them plain. One, it's going to cost less money. Two, a lot of the ingredients that are added into that sauce are not going to be great quality ingredients. It's probably going to be really high in sodium. There's probably going to be some processed oils in there. So I would just avoid that. Just stick to the plain stuff and cook it and prepare it in a way that makes, is tasty for you. My sixth healthy food is good old oats. If you guys watch my What I Eat in a Day videos, you know that I am just a big oatmeal fan. It is something that we eat for breakfast all the time, have for many years. I love my oats. One of the key nutritional benefits of oats is the fact that it's very high in fiber, specifically soluble fiber. And the specific type of fiber that it's really rich in is something called beta-glucan, or beta-glucan, however you want to say it. Now that will actually, when you consume it, so fiber does not get absorbed into your body, it goes out through your intestines, so you end up excreting it. So beta-glucan itself will actually bind to bile acids, which are in your, in your GI tract, in your digestive system. And bile acids are rich in cholesterol. So a lot of times we will just reabsorb the cholesterol from those bile acids, but this will actually bind to it. And like I said, fiber goes out of the body, it gets excreted. So the cholesterol will get excreted along with it. So oats are actually a really healthy, natural way to lower your resorption of cholesterol and therefore lower your cholesterol levels. Oats, because of their high fiber content, are also fairly blood sugar friendly. So when it comes to all the different carbohydrates, oats are one of the better ones when it comes to not giving you, this crazy blood sugar spike, which then leads to an insulin spike, which then leads to a blood sugar dip. And then you've got kind of this haywire blood sugar, which can have all different kinds of effects on your body and your mood and how you feel. I have an entire video on blood sugar. Highly recommend you watch that. If you haven't and you don't know much about blood sugar, it's so important to just your day-to-day health and your life and how you're feeling. Oats are also very rich in thiamine, iron, magnesium, zinc, copper, phosphorus, and they are also rich in a polyphenol called avenothromyes. That's a specific polyphenol that is contained in oats. And polyphenols, like I explained earlier, have antioxidant activity. So they're going to help combat oxidative stress, which is super important. Okay, my seventh food is nuts and also nut butters. So nuts are also a great source of protein, like some of the other foods that I listed on this list. They're also rich in selenium and copper, as well as vitamin E, which is a fat-soluble vitamin that also has antioxidant activity. Speaking of antioxidants, nuts also contain polyphenols as well, so we are getting that oxidative stress fighting capacity. And nuts, especially nut butters, can be used in a lot of different ways. Some people like to snack on nuts, but if that's not your thing, don't get just regular nuts. Go ahead and just buy some nut butters. The only thing that I will, again, caution you against here is make sure when you're buying, whether it's peanut butter or almond butter or, cashew butter, there's all kinds of different ones out there these days. Pay attention to the actual ingredients. One of my very first, I think it was my very first nutrition video I ever posted to YouTube was the skinny on peanut butter. And it's still probably one of my most favorite videos to this day because everybody loves nut butters, but most people don't know that they have can have a lot of added essentially oils added to them, which are not the best for our bodies. So when you're looking at the ingredients, try and get something that just contains peanuts and salt, or almonds and salt. Try and avoid especially any kind of hydrogenated oils. And then you can use nut butters in all sorts of ways. You can use them, I like to put nut butter in my oatmeal. You can use it as like a spread on toast or wraps or anything like that. You can incorporate it into like healthy desserts. There's a lot of different ways that you can use it. And it's also just a great way to add some fat and protein to any meal or snack. Okay, my 8th healthy food is canned salmon. So this is probably the one exception where you're not buying like just the straight up whole food, and it's actually a lot cheaper. So buying canned salmon, for example, like wild caught, maybe like sockeye salmon, is much cheaper than buying just a fresh fillet of wild caught salmon. So salmon is an excellent source of protein, but also omega-3s like our EPA and DHA. Salmon is also very rich in vitamin A. It's a great source of vitamin D, B6 and B12, niacin and riboflavin, which are also B vitamins, and lastly, potassium and selenium. Salmon also has an antioxidant-rich carotenoid in it, specifically astaxanthin. And again, antioxidant activity is going to fight off oxidative stress. That's what we want. And when it comes to buying salmon, wild caught really is the way to go. You can either get wild caught, which is from the ocean, or farm raised. Farm raised fish are going to be on some kind of feed, kind of like the chickens. So the nutrition or nutritional value of that salmon just is not going to necessarily match up with what you would get in a wild caught, fillet of salmon. So again, we're looking for wild caught canned salmon. Wild Planet is a really good brand. They have a few different ones that you can choose from, and again, much less expensive than buying it fresh. My 9th healthy food is yogurt. So yogurt is obviously a dairy product, so it's very rich in calcium. It's also a rich source of protein. Also B vitamins like riboflavin and B12, and it's also a really rich source of phosphorus. Yogurt is also a fermented food, meaning it is basically a natural source of probiotics. So yogurt actually contains live active cultures or bacteria strains that then can go down into our gut and help to repopulate or diversify or replenish our own gut bacteria, and gut health is super important. I have a whole video here on my channel specifically going in depth on gut health, and I also have a whole other video on probiotics that goes into what probiotics are, both in a supplement form as well as I talk about fermented foods as well, so I would definitely watch that video in addition. One thing I will caution you on here is sugar content. A lot of times yogurt is very high in sugar. I mean, on par with eating like a Hershey's bar or something crazy like that. So a workaround here is either just looking for brands that add less sugar overall to their yogurts. I love the Siggy's brand. But also just buying plain yogurt is really your best bet. You can sweeten it yourself with maple syrup or honey, or add fruits, some cinnamon, ways to just make it delicious. And that is actually going to be the cheapest because you can buy big containers of plain yogurt for a much lower cost per ounce or whatever than you would get in buying the individual flavored cups. Okay, my 10th healthy, budget-friendly food is fresh spinach. So you can buy this bagged or in containers in the produce section, and this packs so much nutrition and so many nutrients and antioxidants for really not that much money. Leafy greens such as spinach are very nutrient dense. Spinach contains vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin K1, lots of folate. It's also a rich source of non-heme iron, calcium, magnesium, potassium, B vitamins. And just like a lot of the other foods I mentioned, there are also carotenoids and polyphenols in spinach, which have antioxidant activity. Specifically, spinach has high levels of lutein, zeaxanthin, and then also quercetin, which is a polyphenol. And spinach can be so easily added to so many things. I mean, you don't just have to eat it plain with some salad dressing on it and eat a spinach salad. You can saute it and add it to all different kinds of foods. It's so easily mixed into egg dishes, into soups and stews, and you can chop it up and add it to smoothies, or so many ways that you can use spinach and just kind of incorporate it into different foods to give a really great boost of nutrition. Okay, you guys, so those are my 10 health foods that you can get on a budget. I really hope that you guys found this video helpful. Healthy eating can be done without spending a fortune. You just have to be smart about how you do it. Avoid the overly prepared or even sometimes processed health foods and just stick with the basics, real whole food, and just learn, some very simple cooking techniques so that you can prepare these foods for yourself and for your family. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Definitely subscribe if you haven't already, and also make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm just at Becca Bristow. I would love to hang out with you over on there as well. But that is all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!